Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about the Big Five personality test. This is one of the more modern, more accurate personality tests that has been making waves across the personal development, emotional intelligence world. And I've finally taken it. I've been hearing about this test for many years, and I finally found a good comprehensive quiz that was free, and I took it. The one I chose was a free online quiz by Vanessa Van Edwards, who is a very popular networking slash career coach on YouTube. She wrote a book called Captivate, which talks a lot about networking and social skills. And she's also like, I don't know how much money her business makes, but she makes a lot of money uh, teaching others about this. And her test was free. So I tried it out. It was a pretty thorough test. It took about 20-25 minutes to complete. And so we're going to be touching on why is the Big Five personality test helpful? Why is it better than some of the others? And what my scores were, and what that means, and what's good, what's bad about getting certain scores. So why does this matter in the first place? Why the Big Five personality test? Well, essentially, there's been research and people that have been coming out and saying that the standard test that most people take, the Myers-Briggs, is not so accurate. That's the one most people are most aware of when you ask them, have you ever heard of a personality test? And this is the one with 4 letters to it, and it usually starts with an I or E to indicate introvert or extrovert. So, for example, INFTP, that's a very common one for introverts. And each of the letters signifies something else. Unfortunately, people are saying that a lot of the data and research and the systems um, that were invented for that personality test are outdated and don't work well. So there's that. It does its job. I think the whole introvert versus extrovert thing was genius, but I think it can only go so far when people are trying to invent things to kind of characterize something more complex, which is personalities. So then there's also the DISC personality test, which has also been making waves. I've done videos on the DISC personality test, I believe on both channels, my main channel and my second channel. And that one's a bit better. It's a bit more modern, and it takes a different angle. And it really focuses on intercommunication. So everything you learn from it, it also has 4 letters, DISC, dominance, intuitiveness, I think sociability or sensing, and compliance. Those are all like intercommunication things. Like, okay, if someone's really compliant, that means they follow the rules. That means I should make sure to frame everything as a rule when I'm talking to them and make sure I follow rules when I'm around them. That's what the DISC personality test is useful for. And I found it incredibly valuable in communicating with other people. However, although it's really, really awesome in many ways, and I use it, it's not so much for identifying how you yourself are to the point where you can improve as much as the Big Five personality test. Why is this? Well, essentially, when you look at social psychology research, evolution and biology research, all the modern experiments and research done about human attraction, human success, all of that almost hinges and uses the Big Five personality test. They're not using any of these other tests. Why? Because one is the most reliable, predictable, consistent. There's a lot of things about it, and of course, there's no test is perfect. Obviously, there's going to be someone who says, "Oh, well, this test isn't perfect either or accurate." However, I think it has a lot of potential use given all that I've said and how you can kind of cross-reference it. It also really dives into your own being in terms of your neuroticism, your agreeableness, your conscientiousness, all very core attributes of just how well you function as a person, which allows you to identify just how you are, to accept that and build systems so you function well off that, as well as where you could improve. So that's in a nutshell why it matters. Now, what are my results? What do they mean? How are they useful? So I took the test, and I am actually pretty excited about my scores. So at first it loaded slowly, and then all the scores said low, 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 and I was like, oh my goodness, this is mean I suck at everything. And then after like 10 more seconds, the entire results page loaded, and it basically said that I'm pretty high or medium in many areas. Now, with a test like this, a personality test, usually there's no right or wrong. You can't say with Myers-Briggs or the this personality test that this personality type is better than this one. That's not the purpose of it, and that's not how it's supposed to be read as, because it's just saying people are different. These people are rule abiders. These people function better in a dominant standpoint. And I've talked to experts who train and teach and sell the DISC personality test, and these consultants will say the same thing. It's you. Nothing is right or better. It's more about this is how you see the world. However, with the Big Five, although that's still the case to an extent, no score is good or bad. There is some leeway here. There is some level of improvement here, with generally higher conscientiousness being better than lower. Why? Because there's countless studies being done that signify if you're more conscientious, that means you have more discipline and willpower in life, and that means there's a significant correlation between that and income. There's just been tons of nationwide studies done on that. So that allows you to improve, because it's not completely set in stone. If you have a low conscientiousness, you have the ability as a human to improve that score. So I found this very exciting and useful. And I'm saying this to a degree because once again, it's still not don't cry if you have low scores. I mean, it's still a personality test. So one thing doesn't necessarily mean it's better than another to an extent. It's just saying I'm just saying the Big Five has more opportunity for you to kind of improve. Also, keep in mind that these scores, these tests, are just one test. I want to take more than one Big Five personality test, because who's to say that this quiz is the best one and the most accurate? So I like to take a couple emotional intelligence quizzes and then get the average score of all of them rather than one, because who knows how reliable just one of them is based on the questions they ask. So overall, long story short, I'm pretty pleased. I thought I would be average, but it looks like I'm doing pretty well here, similarly to my emotional intelligence quiz. I wrote about this on my blog, I believe, but I took an emotional intelligence quiz that took a whole hour to take, because there's 100, 200 questions. And I had to pay for this thing. It was $25 or something. And it was one of the first results on Google, so it was fairly credible. It was some institution, and I scored really high on that, so I was pretty happy about that, because I thought I was average. I'm not trying to brag here. I'm just saying throughout most of my life I thought it was below average or average, and I wanted to really up this level given my Asian upbringing. So this video is getting so long, so I'm going to cut to the last section. What were my scores? What do they mean? And how can I improve? So I scored high on openness. Basically, you could score low, medium, or high. There's just kind of a spectrum for each of these categories, with 5 categories, remember. High on openness, high on conscientiousness, medium on extroversion, high on agreeableness, and medium on neurotic. So, in terms of these scores, the results of this experiment and the recommendations they give just speak to the whole idea that not any specific score is good or bad. The recommendations, they give you recommendations for whatever you scored. And, if you're low for openness, they're not saying it's a bad thing. They're just saying, okay, here's how you maximize your low openness. Honor your rituals. Let people know you don't like surprise or routine. If you scored higher in openness, sign up for new activities every month. Exercise your imagination. So it's really not saying that anything's good or bad. That being said, when you look at certain research, this book is packed with studies and research about the Big Five personality test and science and experiments about that and what research tells you about how that correlates to mating success, dating success, attraction, and so forth. And there's very clear things in here saying that you want high scores on certain elements, low scores on others, and what to do to improve. So if you actually want to check out the book, it's called Mate Become the Man Women Want, for the precise details. But in a nutshell, it's saying that a high willpower, which is basically conscientiousness, is crucial for mating success. It's something that women look for intuitively, but also it will kind of show up as a byproduct in other areas of your life. How clean your room is, how rich you become, stuff like that. Now, here's the thing. I'm a messy person. My room is a bit of a mess. I'm actually a little bit embarrassed to show you some of it, but that doesn't look that clean. And conscientiousness is usually correlated with a very clean, organized room. So that tells me that this test is not perfect. I'm probably more of a medium conscientiousness. While you may see my YouTube videos and all the things I've said in life, I do pretty darn well, and I have to admit that. I agree with that. I'm pretty disciplined in many areas of my life, but my room needs work. I am kind of lazy about it. I don't like the hassle of cleaning. So I still have room to improve there, and that test may not be perfect. However, that's one clear, easy way to evaluate yourself and your mating success and improve it. That's something that they don't really, dating coaches never teach, Instead, they're like, oh, just be confident, or, oh, you just got to approach and smile, and, it's all about your energy. And, some of that's BS, I think, some people do well with women and they don't even know why they're doing well. They're just trying to articulate it, and they sometimes fail. Sometimes they're just going to third world countries, and of course your status is going to be much higher there, and that's really what's doing it for them. And they don't really know that's all it is. But conscientiousness is one of the big five. Another one is openness. High openness, medium openness are very crucial for your mental health. And mental health is one of the first intuitive things, according to this book, that gets checked by women on an unconscious biological level. So if you're open to new experiences, new things, new ideas, that's very good. That's very clean in terms of your mental health, your brain energy. So, of course, you want high openness. So I scored really well on there. And extroversion is kind of like there's no right or wrong. Some people are introverts, some are ambiverts, like me, kind of. I scored medium, which means I'm an ambivert. And then some are extroverts. And so ultimately, just like with business, you ask extroverted, successful business people, do you need to be an extrovert to be successful? And Gary Vaynerchuk is like, no, you can be an introvert. Phil Knight, the owner of Nike, is an introvert. I'm more of an introvert. However, Gary says you should partner with the extrovert. There's all sorts of benefits to different people, and kind of setting boundaries and knowing what works for you. The recommendations here is say no to people and places that drain you. The wrong social outings can be a source of dread for an entire week. Just say no. So there you go. I do get drained in certain instances. Next is high agreeableness. Agreeableness is also a very important thing in terms of networking, winning friends, charisma, and dating. In terms of this book, there's research pointing to how agreeableness, when approached appropriately, is highly attractive. It basically means that you're very friendly. Most people that you come across, you rub the right way rather than you rub the wrong way and piss them off. That's a very good thing in general. You're likely empathetic and very good at getting people to collaborate and cooperate. So that's a good thing. However, there's downsides to even that and doing it properly. In terms of agreeableness, the big issue is assertiveness. You still have to be assertive sometimes. Sometimes you still have to make some enemies. If you're scared of making any enemies, you're going to make some crappy decisions or be indecisive because you want to please everyone. That's a huge issue, you know. In order to succeed, you have to sometimes you have to piss some people off because not everyone's going to be happy all of the time. Not everyone's going to like you. And so some people don't understand that because they're young or naive, or they're unwilling to get rid of that. And that's a huge issue. And that's also a huge thing that's emphasized in this book. They compared the difference between an attractive man who is very agreeable and friendly, but also assertive, versus a nice guy who is very agreeable and friendly, but gets walked over, has no spine, and ends up being very repulsive to women. So, assertiveness is one, not the only key thing to being successful with women. Another, setting boundaries, but that's a topic for another day. So, for me, I think I'm very happy to say I scored high on agreeableness. However, there's still some challenges I need to work out. Being okay with not pleasing everyone, that's something I have to struggle with. Being decisive, I'm getting much better at that. Still need some improvement there. And probably the biggest one, being assertive. I've gotten better at that. Still need to work on it. And then pissing people off. That's something that just happens in life, and it hurts and it sucks. And I don't like when people don't like me, but as a nice guy or former nice guy, it has to be done. But yeah, the main thing is just being assertive. Sometimes you could be your great, friendly, positive self, and for the weirdest reasons, people are going to hate you. And that sucks, but you have to deal with it. I'm reading the recommendations for low agreeableness here, and it's saying, you are more analytical, emotionless, or detached. Cooperation, empathy do not come naturally. Level up your team building skills with research, which is a natural strength. Partner with empathetic colleagues or friends to give you insight. So it's basically giving very kind recommendations that are meaning not to offend this person into improving their agreeableness. Now, if you've been looking at dating profiles lately, a lot of them are saying they want an empathetic guy. I've been looking at dating profiles. I went on Hinge recently, and almost like every 3 or 4 profiles, they would say, I'm looking for a guy who's XYZ and empathetic. XYZ being, some other trait, confident, funny. And I saw empathy as a pattern. Empathy is not only good for relationships, same with agreeableness, but studies, research into emotional intelligence. Business leaders like Gary Vaynerchuk have emphasized the power of kindness, friendliness, agreeableness, and most importantly, empathy in sales, in selling stuff, in business relationships, in negotiation, in forming healthy relationships with others. It's a vital people skill, and most people can't do that because they're selfish and they're only seeing the world through their own life. And unfortunately, to succeed, if you understand what they want, you can communicate better. And when you get what they want, you get what you want. Sometimes, not all the time. But that really helps. That's why salespeople make so much money. That's why a lot of millionaires are salespeople. So just keep that in mind. Empathy is a very important trait. Now, the one thing that I didn't score how I wanted to on was neurotic. And I already know this about myself. Neuroticism doesn't mean you're crazy. It means that it dictates how you approach worry. Certain situations can set you off. For me, it's saying that I can get burned out if I sign up for too much. On a bad week, it's hard to fall asleep because I'm worrying. And that's me. This is very accurate. The good news is medium neurotics can usually find ways to stabilize. Notice your anxiety triggers. Create self-care routines. Now, here's the thing. Worry has a purpose, just like every emotion in life. Every common emotion usually had a purpose for our ancestors. Anger, was very useful in a primal reptilian world where you had to react instantly. Worry mattered too when you were in a hunter-gatherer village, and one person disliking you could lead to a coup or a fight that could lead to excommunication. So worrying helped you plan for that and navigate that. However, some of us have let that worry run over to an extreme level. Part of it's our genetics, part of it is our own behavior, and that causes excessive, needless unhappiness, stress, and anxiety. And I've been there before. I've experienced it recently. It sucks. Even putting it aside is very hard to do. There's a few books on it that I think could help. Um, and one book I want to recommend is The Book of Joy by the Dalai Lama. But there's different things that will work for you. I found meditation can sometimes help, but sometimes it doesn't help. You know, um, they're just recommending to notice my triggers, which I already do. Uh, what turns a neutral week into a bad one? Stop the trigger before they start. Create self-care routines to prevent burnout from happening. That's also very useful. And find low neurotic friends to keep you grounded. So, I've definitely found that chill friends who are like not worried much, and can explain why they're not worried much and are usually rational with that, that's really helped me out. Self care, I love anything: a shower, a bath, a bubble bath, um, scented lotion, those things help. So, yeah, that's it for me in a nutshell. Now you know the areas to improve your agreeableness, your conscientiousness. Drop your neuroticism if you can. Increase your openness. Know that your extroversion has no right or wrong score. And even any of these 5 categories technically doesn't really have a right or wrong score, especially if you don't care about dating or making a ton of money. Then it just comes down to managing your own life, your relationship, and communication with others so that you can live the best, stressless, not maybe not stressless, because some stress is good for you in the long run, but the best life you can. Um, Let me know if I missed anything, if there's any tips that you found in your life that's helped out. I know this video's gone pretty long, but hopefully it was almost a little mini course for you in learning about oneself and mastering oneself. Let me know if I got anything wrong, but please do it respectfully. Don't flame in the comments. If I got some fact or piece of science wrong, I'd love to learn more and improve my own knowledge of this. Just do it in a respectful way in the comments. Subscribe. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.